The young man knelt in the dirt, his fingers finding the exact center of the patch. He pressed a single bamboo seed into the cool, dark earth. He leveled the soil with his palms, smoothing the surface until it was perfectly flat, then poured a cup of water over the spot. The water vanished instantly, soaked up by the thirsty ground. He stood, wiped his hands on his legs, and walked away. This was the start. Every morning, long before the sun cleared the horizon, he returned with a heavy bucket. He hauled it from the well, the weight pulling at his shoulders, his boots crunching on the frost-covered grass. He cleared away stray weeds, pulling them out by the root to ensure nothing competed for the space. He knelt again, pressing his palm to the earth to check the moisture levels. It was never enough. He poured the water, watching the liquid darken the patch, then stood to inspect the perimeter. He pruned the surrounding brush, clearing the path for light to reach the center. He did this every single day. The sun rose, the sun set, and he remained, a silent figure working against the empty soil. He was not looking for a result. He was looking for a beginning. A year passed. The surface remained flat and barren. The young man returned each morning, his bucket swinging rhythmically, but the earth offered nothing back. Neighbors walked by, glancing at the empty patch of dirt. At first, they were curious. Then they became impatient. One man leaned on his fence, chewing a stalk of grass, and shouted, "Why are you wasting your time? Nothing is ever going to grow there." The young man did not look up. He simply poured another bucket of water, the sound of liquid hitting dry earth, the only answer he gave. 2 years went by. The patch was still empty. The laughter grew louder, drifting across the fields whenever he carried his heavy load. People started calling him the fool of the village. They watched him carry water in the heat of summer and the biting frost of winter. He never missed a day. He spent hours pruning the surrounding brush to ensure the soil stayed rich, his movements precise and unhurried. He was no longer just a gardener. He was a target for their scorn. 3 years, then 4. The ground remained stubbornly flat. The young man's hands were thick with calluses, his skin cracked and stained by the constant contact with the earth. His back ached with a dull, persistent throb that flared every time he lifted the heavy bucket. He knelt, cleared the weeds, and watered the earth. The routine was a physical anchor, a rhythm that ignored the passage of seasons. The villagers stopped laughing. The mockery had lost its novelty. Now, they simply watched with cold, detached curiosity. He felt their eyes on his back, a heavy, silent pressure that was harder to bear than their words. He ignored the stares. He focused on the dampness of the soil, the way the water pooled in the depressions his fingers had carved. He moved with a slow, deliberate precision. The silence of the field was absolute, a void that seemed to swallow his efforts, leaving him alone with the dirt and the weight of his own unwavering, silent resolve. On the first day of the 5th year, he walked to the spot as usual. He leaned down to check the soil. Suddenly, he felt a sharp vibration under his palm. The earth buckled. A tiny green shoot pierced the surface. He stepped back, his breath hitching as the stalk surged upward. Within hours, the shoot climbed past his knees. By the next day, it reached his chest. The growth was relentless. It stretched toward the sky, gaining feet by the hour, a blur of motion against the static horizon. The villagers gathered at the edge of the field, their mouths agape. They watched as the bamboo soared past the height of the trees. Then, the roof of the house, reaching over 80 feet into the air. The sound of the wood creaking under its own rapid expansion filled the clearing. The man stood still, his hands empty for the first time in years. The field, that had been a barren patch of dirt, was now a vertical forest. The man stood in the cool, deep shade of the massive stalk. He placed a hand against the wood, feeling the faint, rhythmic pulse of its growth. The villagers remained at the edge of the field, staring upward, but he looked down. He knew the truth that remained buried. While the world saw nothing for years, the bamboo had been building a vast, complex network of roots deep beneath the surface. It had been anchoring itself against the storms, weaving through the dark earth, waiting until it was strong enough to support its own weight. The height was merely the result of the unseen labor. He pulled his hand away, watching the leaves sway in the wind. The field was no longer empty. He turned away, leaving the giant to its height, his work finally complete.